When learning a language, sometimes we want to give up. I've been multiple times there where I don't want to study more and I feel like in a type of plateau when I don't feel that I learned something new, but I am stuck in the same level and I can study new things, but all the time I am practicing things that I already know or reviewing old topics. This is because sometimes we get out of track, we have lack of organization, and we are not very consistent with our language journey. For that reason, today I want to give you my 5 tips to stay consistent in your target language, what has made me to certificate myself in English, French, and German. Remember to subscribe if you want more videos of me talking about my language journey and also my process applying to international universities and public universities in Germany. So, starting with my first tip, and this first tip is the way that you approach the language, your method. First, what I really recommend you to do is to learn a language by spaced distribution. That said, it is better to study daily within 20 to 30 minutes a day instead of studying 4 hours a Sunday or something like that. This is actually backed by science or supported by science through an author called Nicolas Cepeda, who called this the spacing effect. And the result of its study was that we have a better retention when we study the material in little sessions over the time. My second tip is always starting with the difficult part. In my personal case, my weakest ability is writing. That is why I always try to write daily a little text, or when I am preparing for certificates exams, I try to do multiple texts about the same task but about different topics. Actually, I am trying to do this method for my German certification exam coming in September, which is the Goethe 2. And I try every day to write an argumentative text that is relatable to the task, and also then uh, reviewing my mistakes and doing feedback. I also apply this methodology for my preparation for the French certificate, and that made me to pass the TAF. So it is really effective. And why starting with the hard things? Because when we start by learning languages only with grammar and skipping the production tasks, it will make ourselves to forget those rules easier rather than if we apply them through active learning like writing or speaking. My third tip is what has worked for me the most, and it is studying daily. As I said, 20 minutes a day can be a really big difference. Another thing is to passively incorporate the target language in your daily routine so it doesn't feel as you are studying, instead, as it is part of your routine and it is automatic. Like, for example, I listen to podcasts every morning when I am doing my skincare or I am getting ready to go to school or go out. My fourth tip is to set a realistic time to your target language. That said, it means that you are aware of the time that you have available and don't set unrealistic goals that will make you procrastinate and scrolling, for example, today. Because sometimes we say, okay, today I will log in, I will study 5 hours straight, and the reality is that we end up procrastinating. That's why we need a system. The best way to do it through a daily basis, and it will make it easier and make your brain to get used to it and maybe form a habit. That said, it doesn't mean that if you do it for 20 days straight, it will become an habit, but it will become much easier. I have you that guaranteed. So to do a realistic study plan, you have to calculate your available hours after you work or study, and also sleep, eat, and transport yourself. For example, you need to incorporate the language into a formal and also in a passive way. That said, incorporate the language in your daily routine, and not just as a formal study, because it can also make you progress without you noticing, and it will become much easier. So when you set a realistic plan, it will be easier to commit with it. The last piece of advice that I have is that attach this goal to something personal. Why do you want to learn a language? Because if it is only because it is a requirement or you have to pass an exam, it will not last long, or it will not be as effective as it could be if you have a passion attached with this language. What is going to make you to commit more strongly with this language? For example, I had the realization that I wanted to study German because I had a bigger purpose, that was pursuing a bachelor degree in a German public university, which I am in the process of doing right now. And that made me to actually fool myself and showing up every day despite a feeling that I sucked, because it is normal, that feeling that you are not enough, but you are really enough. Du bist gut genug. And it is completely normal, but what you have to do is to stick with it no matter what, no matter if you have or you commit a lot of mistakes, because I also have them, but actually to learn from them and stick with your plan. I hope that you found this video useful, and if you really like it, please hit the like button and the subscribe one, and if you know more people that is facing the same situation, please share this video to them. I hope that you really enjoyed this video. I'm very grateful that you have come up so far, and we see us the next time. Bis bald!